So let's take a look at the back view now. Now the back view, as you'll notice, is pretty blunt. You might think it's pretty boring, but it's very rounded, so we can think of the front of the head in proportionally the same ways to get our proportions, and then I'll show you how to find your landmarks if you even need them. You'll have a model with long hair, ears sticking out, those kinds of things, so it can be very blunt, but you can do quite expressive portraiture just from the back of the head. As a matter of fact, I know artists that paint just the back of the heads for portraiture. So we know that we don't see a side plane in the back because the head is narrower, right? Whoops, there we are. It's narrower in the front here and wider, more bulbous in the back. So let's take a look and draw that viewpoint now. So we can say again that this is our standard model, and we're taking a look at our standard model now from the back, and we can start to take its measure, its proportional feeling, again, just like we did in the front, those 2 parts, 2 to 3 parts. Now, we'll shortcut that just a little bit. So we can now draw the back of the head. Because let's say you have a composition with a lot of figures in, and they're turning, and they're moving in different directions. Like you've seen Renaissance paintings, you might have figures with lots of back views, not front views. Okay, so we have our circle for our head in a back view. Of course, we know that half of that there is 2 parts, and then we can take a little visual cue measurement here, bring that down, and our 3rd part is right in through here. So if we bring our center line down from our head, just to feel this out pretty quickly, that's where our chin would pop out. Okay, so watch this. So let's bring that down again, just like we did our front, here, in here. And then we can say this will arch in a little bit further in this direction, and we find our chin area, the bottom of our chin area right in through roughly that direction. So now we can start to take our head and modify it a little bit. Here's the very top. You're going to find that in the back view, because it's wider, you're going to find this gets a little fatter in through here. We can come down. This comes down a little bit longer now. With the back view, we can start to curve this through here. Okay? And this is where it gets more challenging, I think, more interesting, is that we can start to see now in the skull, about right in through this area, in this process, is where this back area of the head starts to get shaved downward and inward back towards the mouth. So I can start to pull down a little bit of shading tone in this direction, right? And what that moves with some arrows I can show you, it starts to get shaved downward. So from a profile view of just the top part of the cranium, what I'm talking about is this area right here, it starts to get shaved and goes back in. And this helps open up the trapezius muscles, but then also the spine. As the spine attaches, it comes through in this area. Okay? So we get this width, the true really wideness of it here, because we can't see the side plane of the head. And so if we're looking through now, we can see that this would become the mandible in through here, and in the mouth areas, it could be kind of a ball would emerge in through here with the chin. So now we're looking inside out. Here's the bottom of the chin. That's important to know when you're drawing. It's very important to know where to put the right, especially if you're drawing out of your imagination or even from life. But it's important to know, again, that this is a 2 parts to 3 part length ratio, roughly. And I think that's, even in the back view, you get that. So let me show you a little bit more of the back view where you can bring the neck muscles down, what they look like. So you can see where the whole opening isn't through, where the spine comes through. But there's 2 muscles that attach to the back that run down your back all the way to your sacrum. And then you have their trapezius. And what it really looks like is this, is you have roughly in this neck area, you have the widening of the neck from the trapezius like a triangle. in a way. So the apex of that triangle, where they would meet, would be somewhere up and through here. But they started here in the space where it gets darker. We can start to come out like this, and I'll just connect that triangle, make it a little bit more organic here, and then bring that over in through here. So you have those muscles coming in this way, and then you have the shoulder with the scapula and the clavicle and the humerus all crashing and coming together about right in through in this direction. That's another lecture. But anyway, here's your bottom of your chin. Remember, 2-to-3 ratio. Those muscles split like this, so your spine can run through them. So they look a little bit like this, if you will, diagrammatically speaking, roughly in through here and in through there. And so what we get now in here is a trough where your spine can come through and connect to the base of your skull right in through here. And I'll start to just kind of shade that in. And so these become like tubes, muscular tubes in a way, these forms. And I'll overemphasize that so you can see that direction. Kind of get them broadly mapped in. I think this is important to see here, here. So it's important to think about, again, what's happening with even the back of the head. So these come over, okay? The muscles come over with a line I'll show you. And what happens, this divots in, right in through here, this divots in. And then something else you can show is you're going to find on your neck, okay, about right here, right in this area, and you can feel it. You feel it back there. Touch your person, you can feel that there's a little extra bulge coming out. I don't have the other skeleton right next to me, or otherwise I'd show you. Anyway, it's called the 7th vertebral notch, and it would wind up roughly about right in through here. That's kind of pronounced. It's kind of like a circular oval. It's a really strong bony protrusion, and you see it on everybody. You know, if you come down, if I put a face on this one here and over neck, just bring it down, it would protrude right there. Do you see it? And that's the 7th vertebral notch, the 7th vertebrae. It's very pronounced, and it's much larger than the others, and you can really feel it. But the point is, these curve over, right, like so, and out. This divots in and over, and you start to get a feel for the humanity, quality of the human form coming through. Of course, our bottom of our chin was through there. Now, the only landmarks that you might see in this case from the back, let me get a different color so you can see it, is the ear. All right, now I would just draw where I find them. But if we want to go really serious about our landmarks and get accurate, where were they? Where was the ear? Where was those relationships where they were located? Remember, it's the brow, yeah, and it's the bottom of the nose. So let's go find them. So from the bottom of the chin here to the top of the head, right in through here, right? We've got that. There's the top. There's the bottom. Halfway down of here and here, right, was where our eye line would be. So here's the center of our eye line, right in through there. Okay, so you know that the eyes would fall in somewhere right in through here. Well, the brow is a little bit higher. So there's the brow. Okay, and then the nose line, the bottom of the nose line is halfway between where? The center of the eyes and the bottom of the head. So the bottom of the nose would be about right there. So now we've found where we can place our ear. So from the brow, roughly, to the bottom of the nose, roughly, now we've got a location to put whatever style looking ear that we want. And so I'll put something a little bit smaller, a little bit more petite. Maybe it comes out a little bit where it attaches. And remember, this is a three-dimensional object, so it will angle in a little bit, something like that. And then it will make the lobe a little bit hang off of that structure a little bit. So you can see that come through. and then we have the ear. So I made my ears a little bit smaller. Now if I want to keep true symmetry, all I have to do is just kind of bring a straight line over if I wanted, visually feel it, kind of make a mark where the top and the bottom of the ear would be in through there. Ears are rarely symmetrical. Some are longer, some are placed a little bit lower, some are higher. Only really supermodels get that. And even that, the ear is less probably important, I would think, in aesthetic beauty. Don't you think? I would think so. That's just a guess on my part. All right, so let's bring down the other ear. So from here over, I'll give a little space where it attaches to the cranial structure. This little area right in through here, right through there. Okay, and then over, and we can find that, bring down a little bit of a curve for the ear, and then angle in. Okay, bring down that attachment for the lobe in through there as well. We'll put a little bit of 3D over the ear, make it a little bit more three-dimensional in through here. And so we can start to have our figure come alive. And so now we get this nice feeling of the human form, the back of the head, which can be, believe it or not, a very expressive component to the figure. Not often that easy, because the hair would come out through here, cover all that, but the more that you know that goes on, the things you need to know that go on underneath, boy, the more you'll be able to understand and make your drawings come alive a lot more actually. And so we see this width in through here, wide part of the cranium, wide part as it starts to kind of turn and come underneath. So, all right, okay. Now what I want to show you is the most difficult parts of the head to draw. We're just going to hit a little bit of proportion in our landmarks. We won't get too crazy for now, and that is those 3/4 views, those side views that I think are the most interesting and most telling form about drawing. So they look like more like that. So if we're both now the skeleton and me, we're both in 3/4. This is profile, okay? This is true front. These are flatter, but then when you really know what you're doing, you get into 3/4 side views. Why? Because you get top, bottom, left, and right planes. Okay, let's jump to that. Let's look at those massively difficult 3/4 views, and let's see how we can start to figure out point of view, your proportions, and hit your landmarks pretty quickly. So I'll say this, is that when you get into trouble in drawing, go back to the simplest form that you know. And I think with the head, and this is not profile or front, it's the 3/4 view, it's the box. And let me show you why it's the box. So if I'm drawing a side of the head, the first thing I might look at and might think about is the box, but I'm also thinking about what? The standard model. Okay, so that's another issue. So I'll write that up here again. Always you take your notes, write that standard model, because you're going to see a lot of deviations in class with the line model for NKU, and then those of you that are in YouTube land, you'll see a lot of deviations certainly in your own lives, or whoever you're wanting to draw. So point of view is important. Where we're at, if we see the top of the head or we see the bottom of the head, it's really important. So I'll draw this first one in relatively 3/4, and we'll see a little bit of the top of the head. And I'll show you what I mean. It's basically, we're going to look at it as if it's just a box. But the box is a 2:3 ratio head, right? So 2 at the top, okay, and 3, or 2 wide and 3 length kind of box. So remember our volumetric studies. We were already doing that in a way, if you made it look pretty clear. Sometimes we use a cylinder, but we already had that going. So if I'm doing something like this, I want to feel that 2:3. And this will feel kind of boxy back in through here, right? But a little bit longer in the face. So already we've got set up in our drawing this feeling as if we're pushing back in space. So now we've got a true sense of perspectival movement going with our 3/4 view. Here, right across, and then all of a sudden it turns and it moves back. The head moves back in space that direction. Really important to know what and why you're doing that. All right, so let's start to make it look a little bit more human. So we'll feel this roundness of our egg former, our egg cranial structure in here, right? Remember that was about halfway down, maybe even a little bit longer in the side view, but you get the idea in through here now as we get that cranial egg form in now 3/4 view. 3/4 view. 3/4 or 7/8, which is closer to profile. If it's 7/8 front and then 7/8 back, means that it's closer to almost being true back. So front and back are important when I talk about 7/8. So watch this. Look at this side plane. See how that starts to tell us that this temporal lobe of our skull starts to fall and flow right in through here. Can you feel that? Feel that 3/4? That's what makes this such, I think, a much more difficult drawing to do, but I think really rewarding as we're drawing this area now in 3/4 of our model, of our model's head. Of course, we're basing everything off the skeleton, the skull. Okay, so we have this feeling now, this cranial egg. Here's the true top. It starts to turn right in through here where that blue plane was. It's turning, right? Turning and coming more downward down the box, right? And that's that side plane of the head where you chew. If you grit your teeth and you chew, open your mouth wide, you can start to feel it. So the actual skull is dug in a little bit, so that muscle tissue, that fiber, can attach onto the side plane of the head. All right, so now we've got to take an accurate measure of that front plane. So in a front view, we would be saying, all right, here's my head, my nice oval. See how we can start to just draw that in a nice 2 to 3 oval. And now that front plane right there, okay, here's my neck, right there in the center of the head. Now it's pushed way over in perspective. So in perspective, you're going to see more of this left side. So here it is now coming down on over in through here, okay? So we start to see that pushed over in our drawing in through here and on over and downward. All right, let's get a even more human look. Let's say, remember, halfway through the profile, there's our egg, here's our gesture, here's our face. Okay, here's our jaw coming down through here, neck, about halfway down, roughly. This line here, our jawline right in through here. Sometimes it could be pushed further back. Sometimes they give maybe a little bit too cranial view here, but it depends on the model. My standard model might be a little bit different, but it's pretty close to most people. All right, so we have our jawline coming down as we feel that all the way down through here. So we have to say, okay, we know we want that angle, this angle coming up. That's going to feel like this in drawing as we get closer to where our bottom of our chin will be over and through there. So this takes into account this angle. The jaw slices, comes down and over, curves through, and we start to get to the chin. So I want that chin line, it can't be straight because we're in perspective now. I want it to feel like it's going back in space in 3/4. That's why 3/4 is the hardest view, but it's the best view because it gives you the most interesting detail, I think. And so just keep that in mind as you're drawing. All right, so I'm going to bring this kind of face profile down, even though it moves in and curves a little bit over to our chin and through there. Now let's bring down our neck. So remember, about halfway down where the neck attaches, okay? Remember we started with our box, we see our blue box, and then we'll bring down our neck a little bit. Feel that 7th vertebrae probably running through here. Neck, this would straighten out through here and then come down and through and over, and I'll just bring down kind of this loop, cylindrical loop of the neck, back of the neck muscles, and sternocleidomastoid muscles, and through our clavicle, and through clavicles, and through there. We'll talk about those more deeply much later in anatomy. Okay? All right, so we've got a good workable head here. Let's start to find our landmarks a little bit further. So let's find our eye line. So from roughly the top of the head, okay, the bottom of the head in perspective, and it's going to get narrower as we go through, right? That's converging, and that's converging a little bit and through there as we move through. So the actual center line of our drawing our head will be about right in through here, okay? And so now we'll push it in perspective just a little bit. Got to do that. Right in through there. There's the center of our eye line. That's the eye line. So the brow line is going to come a little bit higher. Right in through there. Hit your landmarks. Know your proportions. 2 to 3. Now we're in 3/4. We have to take more perspective. Okay, so let's slow it down a little bit. Let's bring that brow line down in through here. So our brow in through here. Now watch this, we'll bring our brow over. Here's our center in through here. So we're going to bring this over, okay, right in through here. We have our brow coming in through like so. And this gets us over, and that'll get us to, later on, to the ear in through there. And so what happens with this brow, we'll take a very simplified, it's kind of like a motorcycle helmet, maybe sort of like a football helmet or a gladiator helmet. You get this pushing back in space of the eye sockets in through here and in through there a little bit. And so they tend to do something that looks like this. And I'm going to shade down this so you can see it, this opening. This might help you in your drawing a little bit. So you get that kind of shaved down view. It's basically taking off the nose hub in through here and simplifying this middle structure, because we don't want to get into detail yet. Okay, so I might bring this in a little bit, bring that over just a little bit, recorrect that and through there. So still I want you to get that blocky feel as well as we come through that brow. Okay, so now we can bring this down. We can find that movement of our cheekbone in through here, right? We still start to see that coming through, and we can kind of come through and get to our chin right in through there. So if I shaded this down a little bit, right, I would shade that out and now back to the head in this direction. So pushing this blue and getting that feeling of that side plane. So let's find the bottom of our nose. Let's find our other features. So center of the head, in through here, center line. Here's our eye line, the center of our eye line in through here. The bottom of the nose, halfway through in perspective, would feel like about right in through here. There's the very bottom of the nose, in through here. Here's the center profile line. And then the bottom lip, let's go ahead and find that half. So half, right, and half. Okay, right in through here, roughly the bottom of the lip. In through there. And so we can hit our landmarks in through there. So if I simplify this process a little further to show you, that was bottom of the nose and through there. So I can start to bring in this hub and through here, so you can start to feel that coming down, pushing over. Side plane of the nose would be in through here. You don't want to get too complex, but I do want to show you just a little bit more in through there. This would push in, push over, and then we'd get our nostrils attaching up in through that direction. I can start to shade that down a little bit so you can see. And then being mindful of that, we're still in perspective, right? In this direction. We've got to remember that it's not necessarily always going to work out as a straight line. I think you have to be careful of that and know that. And so I can now bring this cheekbone, we'll space this cheekbone into here, bring this rhythm back over and show you that. And I want to bring this back even further, recorrect that a little bit so you can start to see. There we go. Blunt that out a little bit so you can start to see that chin, that cheek line, mandible line belongs a little bit pushed over. So we'll bring this through. This one angle down a little bit and through this way. And you can see you start to get that skeletal structure. This is even more simple than the skeleton, by the way. You can start to see it can kind of emerge through the process of this drawing, I think, yeah, even further. So we get this side plane in through here. This moves back in space as it gets more shaved down. Remember, this comes over and then it moves downward here and then more downward in its orientation so that muscle can fit on top. Now, the ear, remember the brow line through here, the center of the eye line. If we kept going, what do you know to put the ear? Well, you got to think about the plane change of what we're drawing here. Okay, a plane box, so we're moving in this was the brow line, the bottom of the nose here, and then they move back in perspective this direction, right? So here's our brow, right in through here, center of our brow, back in this direction. So that means they're pushing back in 2-point perspective this way. And this is why perspective matters. Master it. If you're a little scared of perspective, don't worry. With me, you're going to get a lot of perspective videos coming in the future as relatively fast as I can make them. But master the art of 1, 2, and 3-point perspective, and it will change your drawing life and your understanding of art tenfold, if not more than that. So we pull this brow measurement out and up this way. Okay, there's our brow line. And then we pull the center of our eye line through. We stop where this plane ends. The side plane of the head ends about right there, and that's where we change directions. So here we move, and then we move in this direction. Center of the eye through it this way, right? But then the bottom of the nose is what we want here. Plane changes here, then we take a measure of perspective right through. And there's our bottom of our nose. There's our brow roughly in through here. And we find that center point, so we can start to put our ear roughly in this direction. We can give it that boxy, three-dimensional look now, that C shape or backwards question mark right in through there. And so now we found a logical and reasonable place to put the ear in perspective of our head. So it starts to fit into a logical human pattern and starts to make more sense now in our drawing. We can let that mandible open up a little bit. And through, of course, the eyeball would start to emerge and feel this direction. We'd start to feel this start to merge out from our drawing. And it might even show the cheek. If it had really high cheekbones, I could bring this line over in perspective, and this cheek might, if there was a strong female form, her cheeks might push over. They might disappear back within the nose. Depends on the point of view. But I'll push them over and through here and on down. And then we'll find the, let's talk about the forehead just slightly. This cranial structure gets a little bit more pronounced, like so, in through here. This plane will move in this direction and kind of start to come down, like so, and through here. So you feel that kind of moving across in your drawing. And then so we have the bottom of the lip, so we know what to shoot from, and so I can start to manipulate the chin a little bit in through here. But we have that cleft chin, so I'll bring that back through a little bit. Like so. And then we can put now the bottom, well, we have the bottom of the lip to shoot from, and we can start to bring the philtrum out, like so, so we can find where the top lip is, and I can start to feel this rhythm, this rounded kind of ball muzzle of the entire oral area is like a little rounded ball in through here that will help you think through your drawing form. You could put like a little small racquetball in your mouth because you can get up into your mouth. What I'm talking about is this area. And so this rounded area, the teeth are not straight set, they're not straight flat across, they move. See how they move around? It's really rounded in through here. That's really important to see how rounded, and your back teeth go way far back in your head. So this whole area in through here can be thought of as kind of a rounded little form in through there. I tend to find it about maybe a little pronounced on this side, but on the right side, but it tends to, you find it right in through, I find it right in through there. It's kind of like a little ball, little racquetball sitting in through there. Start to see that. And of course your teeth sit and they come back in space. So this comes front slightly, it straightens out a little bit in perspective, and then it goes way back in space and sits down in there. I think that's important to see.